Hello, and welcome to the Writer's Desk. My name is Lisa Soland, and I am the leader of the All Original Playwright Workshop based out of Los Angeles, but now taught online and around the globe. Today, our episode is going to cover the topic of proper workshop behavior. First of all, be on time. However, being early is better. But if you find that you are late, simply apologize and mean it. Sometimes what we forget is really how disruptive it can be when somebody does come in late. And if you apologize and you mean it, people can just go right on, and it will take up far less time than it would if you tried to make up excuses or somehow defend yourself, which we want to stay away from. Second most important thing, be kind and patient. There is no doubt that there is going to be an eclectic level and variety of writers and actors and directors in that workshop that you participate in. Everybody's going to be different, and chances are they're going to be very different. And it's important that you treat others as you would like to be treated. What I have found over the years teaching the workshop is that there's always one or two people in the workshop that require a little bit more patience than others. It's just the way it is. And you should enter a workshop knowing this so that it doesn't surprise you that somebody perhaps is a little bit more verbose, more verbal, wants to talk a little bit more than the average person. It's good to be patient and also to have trust and confidence in your workshop leader, who should be able to handle any type of situation like that that comes up. You might find that you are one of the best in the workshop and one of the best that's able to give effective feedback and help others. For you, you're going to be required to be more patient. And I wish it worked out in the world that as we evolved and moved up the ladder, along with that came wisdom and kindness and patience, but sometimes it doesn't. We have to consciously choose to be that way. You might have an idea that you are the weakest link in the workshop. You see, it doesn't matter. What matters is everyone who comes in as a sponge and absorbs whatever they can and learns and grows. And I guarantee you, if you're kind and supportive to the others in the workshop, chances are very good that they'll treat you the same way. And that creates an environment where everyone can grow and learn together. I have learned more from people that were better and smarter than me, and also from people who I at least judged were not as far along. You can learn from everybody, and if you remember that, sometimes the patience and the kindness can follow. Is to be reliable, to follow through on your word. How this plays out in a workshop as a writer is if you tell the people in the workshop that the next day you're going to bring in 10 pages, you will really do service to yourself if the next day you bring in 10 pages. What this does is this builds confidence, this builds trust, not just for each other, but for yourself as a writer. And oftentimes as playwrights, we don't really have deadlines, and that's why we like to participate in workshops, so that the deadlines are there. Others are going to be holding you accountable, and you're going to be lovingly holding others accountable. So we do want to follow through, and we want to be reliable. Make sure that you say what you mean and then follow through on what you said. Also, do not minimize your participation. If you're going to be late and you know it ahead of time, or you're not going to be able to attend at all, make sure that you phone your instructor, because if they hear from you, they're going to be able to visualize who's going to be there and present to read the other people's scripts. Many workshops that I've taught, many of the writers have been actors as well. So they've been very effective in reading scripts for each other. Well, if you're a writer and you come into the workshop and Susan isn't there, and you expected Susan to be there because you're doing a one-woman show and she was perfect for it and she read the part the night before, it's going to throw you off a bit that she's not there. That's the number one reason. The number two reason is for input. Do not minimize your participation in this workshop for the reason of giving good input to the other writers. There is no telling where a good idea will come from, and it might be you. I have seen some amazing things happen in workshops, and it usually happens when people realize that they are only part of the plan. They are not the plan, and the workshop is not all about them. If you've got 12 people in a workshop, each one of those people are very, very important. It takes a combination of several personalities to make a great workshop. And when you have an environment where people are listening more than they're speaking, it's very good. You can learn much more when you listen, because usually when you're talking, you're saying something that you already know. Script ideas that are discussed in the workshop need to stay in the workshop. This is the topic of confidentiality. Also, you do not want to be using somebody else's ideas without asking them permission. Oftentimes, the creative environment gets so creative and exciting that people's spirits just jump in and start throwing out all sorts of ideas. Well, sometimes ideas for plays come up. They come out of your mouth. Just make a note of the idea and make a note on your writing pad, which you should have with you, who said the idea, so that if you ever want to execute that idea as a writer, you'll know who to contact to ask permission. Always ask. It's such a kind, respectful thing to do. It will help if you think before you speak. When you are giving feedback to another writer, it's not for a script that you're writing if you were writing their script. It's for their script. So you need to consider what it is that they're trying to do with their script. And only then will you be able to effectively give them feedback for that script. So think first before you speak. We always want to lift another writer up. So it's not so much the criticism that matters. It's the way in which you give critical feedback. You give it with the intent to lift up the writer. Does it change the content? No, not at all. The chances of you being heard will be much better if it's coming from a place that is empathic, which means that you are putting their script first and not your ego first. You have your own script to write. When you give feedback to another writer, you're helping them write theirs. Once you make any commitment whatsoever, it's best to follow through in a workshop, because you don't know who's in that workshop. You know, there's a lot of people that participate in workshops that are also producing and directing other projects. Could be artistic directors, directors, actors that are involved in other projects. And it's best to present yourself in a professional manner. And it's so easy to do. You know, being on time is such a simple thing. What you wear, how you present yourself, how you communicate, all of these things, and the manner in which you treat others. All of these qualities make up you as a professional. And the more professional you are and courteous you are and easy to work with and reliable you are, the more you will work. It's that simple. And a lot of these behaviors are based on your attitude. And we'll talk about that next at the writer's desk.